So you may or may not have watched our Playa del Carmen video, but in this video we're going to be we're going to take you through the pros, cons, tips, and must-knows, and at the end of the video we'll let you know if we think Playa del Carmen passed the vibe check. So we're going to start with the pros, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we've got like 7 of them. Pro number 1 are the beaches.
Some very, very beautiful beaches. We only got to experience a couple of them, but yeah, the water is incredibly warm. Crystal clear waters is just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Turquoise looking waters, which is pretty amazing. Also, this will vary depending on where you stay, but for us in particular, we stayed pretty close to the water, so walkability to getting to the beach was great. We had like between 10 to 15 minute walk to get to the beach. And then also being on the beach is very walkable. You can walk like the strip of the beach if you wanted to.
Yeah. So pro number 2, definitely great food. La Cochiloca was one of my favorites. I think it was our favorite there. It was the cochinita pibil. It is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of other really good food. A lot of cheap street food.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely transparent, while we were there, we were on a pretty tight budget, so we didn't have the like privilege to be able to try as much food as we wanted to. But there's a lot of good food there. There's plenty of food options. Like, you won't definitely run short of trying to find food. Pro number 3. We didn't know a better term to come up with this other than calling it a central hub. Meaning there's a lot of like main transportation that can take you to a lot of different areas as well, and you can easily get there. So 3 of those ways of transportation is the ADO, which is the bus station there, and there's also 2 ferry stations, a 2-minute walking distance from the ADO station, so that's pretty great. And then it's also pretty close to the airport. It's approximately an hour drive.
Yeah, and the ADO is honestly pretty great. It was really fast, and it takes you all over that entire region. So you really don't have to worry about any other transportation issues if you enjoy the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to go to Cozumel, ADO, get off, 2-minute walk, there you're at the ferry for the island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having that bathroom on the bus is quite convenient.
Oh yeah.
So, if you have to use the bathroom, it's very nice. But yeah, on to pro number 3. 4, sorry. Yeah, there's lots of access to certain types of activities that are just like really fun. One of them being cenotes. Cenotes are really popular in that region. Some of the best in the world are there. Definitely the best ones in Mexico are in that area. Also like adventure parks, like water parks, Xcaret. Those are really popular there, and there's so many of them in that general area. Also, what else is there? All-inclusive resorts, where you can just pay a certain fee and then have access to unlimited drinks, food, and use of their facilities, as well as like day trips to the close islands. And there are 3 major ones: Isla Mujeres, Cozumel,
which we do have a video on, so check that out.
Absolutely, check that out. And Isla Holbox.
You could also take trips to Cancun and Chichen Itza. There's archaeological sites around there. And if you walk near the beach and down 5th Ave as well, you won't have a shortage of people offering to take you on these trips.
Especially underwater activities. There's also the Underwater Museum in Cancun, which is, from what I've seen, is like stunningly beautiful from the pictures and videos.
We could also put together a little guide. If you're interested in having that guide, we can totally put it together for you. Just put, comment down below PDCG for Playa del Carmen guide.
Perfect. Yeah, there's so much to do. Even Tulum day trips are so close, so we can give you a great guide of that general area. Yeah. On to the next point.
5.
Yeah, 5th Ave. This it's very subjective. I I think I would have enjoyed Fifth Ave a lot more in my 20s. There's so much to be offered there. Like it reminds me of Las Vegas Strip, but just kind of in Mexico and while walking. It's just restaurants, bars, clubs, shopping. Um, yeah, it's just there's a lot to do there. I think most beaches on from Fifth Ave are like a few blocks walking. A lot of mezcal, tequila. So if you're looking to party, it's definitely a great place to be. And there's a lot of food options. There's even like uh, Irish pubs. There's Senor Frogs. There's so much. So
Last one is amenities. So there's a lot of Western amenities like shopping, like they had Gap there, and even like restaurants, a lot of Western restaurants. There was Burger King, there's Starbucks, there's Subway, McDonald's, all along Fifth Ave as well.
Yeah.
If you walk on Fifth Ave and then you go all the way like to the end of the strip towards, if you're facing the water and you go all the way down to the right, you're gonna hit like a mall like type place. Yeah. And that's where there's like the Gap, and I don't know what other stores. We didn't really care to go in there. To be honest, we weren't there for shopping. That's not what we were there for. But if you're there for that and you like that type of stuff, there's that. And there's also a lot of supermarkets. There's Walmart, there's Mega, there's Soriana. Mega and Soriana are some of the like Mexico major supermarkets.
Yeah.
You could find pretty much almost anything that you could find at a Walmart in those places. And then there's also a lot of local authentic shops everywhere. So if you like to just shop from locals and not necessarily go into the major Western shopping that we're used to, then there's definitely that option to shop locally. So that was it for the pros. So now we're moving on to the cons. We have 3 cons. So the first con that we have is Fifth Ave.
Yeah.
And not necessarily that Fifth Ave is a con, but these are just the cons of Fifth Ave.
Yeah.
So the first one that we weren't really expecting, but I guess should have, is that there's pretty aggressive and go-getting salesmen on Fifth Ave. So it's pretty difficult to walk along Fifth Ave and not have somebody asking you to come into the restaurant, to come into their shop, to buy or try something. So there's definitely going to be a lot of that, even offers of buying drugs, etc. So there's a lot going on there. It's a lot of stimuli for sure. Other things that were cons in our opinion for Fifth Ave is that if you're not looking to party or drop a lot of money while you're there, it's kind of a con, because that is what Fifth Ave is. It's a money spending area.
Yeah.
People like that are there to sell, they're expecting you to buy something if you're walking down there. So if you were like us and you're kind of on a budget, it may not be the biggest pro of Playa del Carmen.
Yeah, and the food on Fifth Ave is also quite pricey. It's kind of like the U.S. state prices. Like I checked some menus, and some of the food was right around $20 for a plate of certain dishes. So it's kind of steep. Like that's pretty high for Mexico.
If you're on vacation, you may not care, but we were on a budget, so we were like, yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty steep.
Con number 2 is the beach. And it's not necessarily the beach, but it was really hot while we were there.
Really hot.
And we were wanting something to drink, something refreshing. There wasn't a whole lot of vendors, unfortunately, like on the beach, like coming around selling drinks.
No one selling coconuts. You know, a lot of times you can find that fresh coconuts that are cut open. They'll throw a straw in it and they're cold a lot of the times too. So we couldn't really find that on the main beaches. It was a lot of like day clubs, restaurants.
If we wanted any sort of drink, we had to go into one of those restaurants that was along the strip, which again are pricey because they are in a great location. Or you can also just head to the nearest OXXO or 7-Eleven or other type of little convenience store.
Right.
And buy your own drink and head back to the beach.
Yeah. That's my suggestion. Bring some drinks. You'll be happier that way. All right, on to the next one. We have the environment of that area. It is quite a big culture shock. Seeing trucks full of armed police and military. If you're not used to that, it can be a bit scary because they're all carrying big rifles, which can be intimidating. But it can also make you feel quite safe. It's kind of like, for me, whatever. But for others, I think maybe they might get a little spooked or just might not be used to seeing large groups of armed men.
But it is very normalized here, so it's not necessarily something to be concerned about. We're just saying it would be a culture shock. So this is just kind of something to give you a heads up.
It is a very, very touristy place.
Yeah.
A lot of tourists from everywhere, not just the States, from everywhere.
Yeah, like we were walking by like this vendor one time and he was like, they know all sorts of languages here because they are hustling and they need to make money. So they would talk to us in Spanish. They're like, habla español, and we're just like not trying to engage because we know we're not going to buy. Or francés. I was like, wow, they know French here.
I think that guy said French, Dutch, English, and Spanish, and I was like, dang.
They know a lot of languages here.
Yeah, I thought I knew a lot of languages, but no, they know a lot of languages.
Mm-hmm. Another con of the environment is a con to other people like us who are not really interested in Western shopping and restaurants. Personally, we were trying to get away from that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We were more so wanting to find out the main things about Mexico, not really wanting to be involved in chains of restaurants or shopping from the States. And the last part of what we consider con for the environment is we experienced some pretty unpleasant vibes.
Yes.
Not from everybody. This is not a generalization, but unfortunately, the unpleasant vibes that we experienced were unpleasant enough to want to deter us from wanting to stay in Playa del Carmen.
We were on our way to the Soriana or Mega.
I don't remember.
It was one of the major grocery stores on the west side. On the west side. And we were walking there, and we were just like crossing the street, and like this car full of probably like teenagers. I don't know. They started like swearing at us in Spanish. I think it was particularly to me, but I'm not sure, like certain. And we also had another incident where we had to go to the bank on our way out with our suitcases, which is kind of a no-no.
Right. We were like the time from our Airbnb from one place had expired, and we had to go over to our next one. And if you know about Airbnb, checkout is like usually around 11 or noon, and then check-in isn't until like 2 or 3. So we had to like haul our shit with us, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And stopping at the bank, there was definitely a lot of eyeballs, a lot of phone calls, overheard words and phrases about us, or about me standing out there with our stuff while she ran in and grabbed cash.
It was a little bit sketchy, so if you can, just don't do that. Try to avoid, just get money before you leave your place.
Right.
And then also, just for me personally, there was a lot of stairs that were uncomfortable, just in a tank top and shorts. Don't want to generalize that either, like blanket it over everybody, but it was just something that unfortunately made me pretty uncomfortable. So that's it for the pros and cons. We're going to move on to the tips and the must-knows for Playa del Carmen.
Sounds good. All right.
So the first one is budget. And this is more of a tip. If you are there visiting Playa del Carmen on a budget like we were, we stayed at Airbnbs that cost $11 a night and $14 a night. So just a heads up, if you are also booking on a budget like us, don't expect the Airbnb to have napkins, shampoo, body wash, etc. Those little amenities. They were not provided. So just a heads up to know that you will probably need to buy a little travel size something while you get there.
Right.
Also, to eat on a budget, we highly recommend buying from street vendors. They are going to be a lot cheaper and affordable than going into an actual restaurant.
Absolutely.
We found a sweet little lady that was selling tamales, and they were pretty massive. They're like this size.
They're big.
And they were 30 pesos each. So, and like one was pretty filling.
Yeah, one was filling enough, and if you had two, you were stuffed. Like
absolutely.
They had a lot of chicken in it, and yeah, it was just good.
Yeah, so for $3 you could be absolutely stuffed.
Yeah, super full.
Yeah, so that's something. We also ate one large pizza for 100 pesos. That's $5.
Yeah.
So we didn't even finish it. Yeah, it was great pizza. It was actually one of the best pizzas I think I've had.
Yeah.
So that's a good budget option.
And then beers and like alcohol is quite cheap at like a lot of smaller shops. You'll find these little tiny little beer shops that are just like bars on the window, and they sell super cheap beers. Like I saw like 3 or 4 of them in our vicinity where we were in our first Airbnb, and yeah, they're quite affordable, cheaper than at Oxo and other places like that.
Yeah, so if you care about those things, about being on a budget, shopping a little bit on the leaner end, then just walk around the vicinity where you're at, and I'm sure that you'll find some stuff like that.
Definitely. Like if you're trying to get beers for the beach, go to one of those instead of going and waiting in line at a big box like Superstore or whatever it may be, you know? Mm.
Yeah, we were pretty roasted.
Yeah, we got we got burnt. We got burnt, that's for sure.
Number 2, this is a tip. So, in our opinion, this is a pretty important tip.
Huge one.
It's getting to Playa del Carmen from the airport.
From Cancun Airport.
Yes, from the Cancun Airport. So we definitely do not recommend getting a taxi straight from the airport.
No.
We paid $100.
$100, literally.
$100 to take us on a 45-minute drive to Playa del Carmen, and later found out that we could have just booked 2 tickets.
On the ADEO.
Yeah,
for $24.
The bus station. They would have costed us, each $12. And then once we got to the ADEO station in Playa del Carmen, we could have booked a taxi that would have took us to our place for $2.
Yeah.
So our whole trip that could have cost us $26 ended up costing us $100. So if you don't want to spend $100 on just getting to Playa del Carmen, we highly suggest booking with the ADEO.
Also, another tip when it comes to getting transportation there, if you do want to take a taxi, leave the airport. Mm-hmm. You will find taxis outside. I don't know the exact location.
So. Yeah, something that we've found out throughout traveling and landing in airports in Mexico is that outside taxis, like local taxis, are not allowed to come into the airport and try to gain business. So and they are going to be a lot cheaper than $100, for example.
Yeah.
So if you want to go and find one of those taxis, you have to like leave the airport and go onto the street. And then we didn't do this, so you would just have to do some exploring. If you're traveling light, this might be ideal for you, but you can go out and find a taxi and then just ask the price. We don't know the price ranges for these as we didn't do this, but we definitely think it would be a lot cheaper option than to do that. We don't think Uber works over there.
No.
When we tried it, it wasn't working. But we later found out about another platform called Didi. We don't know if Didi works in Cancun, so check that out if you are there, because Didi is a more affordable app than Uber as well.
It's a great app for Mexico when you're traveling.
But also to know, if you do book from Didi, for example, you will still probably need to go out of the airport. They won't come in and pick you up inside of the airport because they're just not allowed to do that. And just a tip, or if you do take the ADEO and your bus is not ready and you're waiting for your bus and you have to shit, if you have to go number 1, that's not as bad, but
yeah, I had a pretty humbling experience at the ADEO when we were on our way to Merida.
We were leaving Playa del Carmen.
You have to pay a few pesos, like 5 pesos, to get into 7 pesos to get into the bathroom itself, and then there's no toilet paper and there was no toilet seat in the Playa del Carmen bathroom for ADEO. And this wasn't the one that's next to the ferry, it was the further away one.
He did wipe his butt. We always carry wipes.
Yes, we carry wipes. That's a must. But
so have wipes and TP with you.
You have to have something there to wipe, and there is no toilet seat, so be prepared to squat it's a very humbling, I had an upset tummy. I had to do what I had to do. So bring pesos.
It was quite funny. It was just from like the day before we had hauled ass like all of our luggage up these 3 stories, and then that morning hauled it down. So his legs had gotten to work out and he's like squatting.
Yeah.
Shaking.
I was like sore from carrying the shit, and then I had to squat.
For the shit.
So yeah, it's pretty brutal. But yeah, it's a must know for sure. Bring the TP or the wipes, and bring pesos for the toilet, because you will be paying for the toilet almost
it's
everywhere.
It's a pretty common
in
thing
Mexico.
to use public restrooms. It's generally 5 pesos, but it could range from 4 to 7.
And a lot of places will give you TP when you pay that entrance fee, but some don't.
They must have been out at the ADO. We're not sure if they just never have TP, but just have your own cleaning mechanism.
Cleaning stir.
Number 3 is culture shocks. So, culture shocks for Mexico. We accidentally threw toilet paper in the toilet because we didn't know that you're not supposed to throw toilet paper in the toilet in most places in Mexico. So just make sure that you read the signs. We don't know what's up with their plumbing or what's going on in most areas, but it's not a normal thing to throw toilet paper into the toilet.
Yes, it's just not, just doesn't flush well here. I don't know why, but yeah, it's always in the trash can. So it's kind of like something to get used to, be prepared for it. It's everywhere. I have found a couple places where it wasn't like that, but it is very rare, very rare.
So to learn from our mistake, withdraw cash before having to go out there with your luggage if you're able to. In our situation, it didn't work out, but just to avoid feeling unsafe and like something could
just wasn't the most comfortable thing to be carrying large amounts of cash and your suitcases and all your valuables while you're having to go to the bank, and there's just so many people, so many things. It's just not the most comfortable thing.
Yes. And then also check with your bank. They might for withdrawing money, they might have partnerships with certain ATMs in Mexico in which your banks. ATM fees may be smaller or potentially non-existent. My bank personally doesn't do that. I have a credit union, so I found that the cheapest ATM is Santander, and I think the ATM fee is less than $4. So if you don't know which ATM to use, we highly recommend Santander because we've had great experience with it. Yeah,
it's our go-to. We don't really go to many others. And when we do go to others, the fees are just quite high in comparison.
Yeah, like double.
Yeah.
At least. So, we want to know...
You're such a goofball.
We don't want to know, but...
But
the finale of the video, drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
Does Playa del Carmen pass the vibe check? No.
No. It's definitely not home base for us.
Yeah, it's not home base.
I enjoyed a lot of things about it. If I was in my 20s, I would probably love that place. Mm-hmm. There's just so much to do. It's really beautiful. So it's a great place
to party, and it's a great place to vacation and spend money and have fun. Whether fun be partying or fun be enjoying like archaeological sites and nature and beaches and luxurious things like that. There's a lot of those things to do over there.
Yeah.
That's not what we were there for.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a shock for us. But if that's what you're into, it's going to be a great place. It's personally not a home base type place, in our opinion.
Yeah. We would come back for a vacation. But yeah, no, it's not. It doesn't pass our home base vibe check.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And there will be more pros and cons videos coming out for the locations that will be
traveling to or have traveled to, you know? Yes. We've been to a lot of places so far, so it's just the start.
Yeah, if you thought this was informative, like give this video a like so that we know to keep making videos like this.
Yeah, we just want to give you guys like more insight on in these locations, depending, if you're going for spring break or you're going on vacation with your family or whatever it may be. Maybe you're traveling like us and trying to find a new home, So we're just trying to give you guys the best insight we can through our experiences. Thank you guys.
Till next time.
Peace.